Hi, my name is Speedy and today our lesson is on bending notes. We're talking about playing in the minor blues in the key of A minor blues. And there's a few things that you need to know before you start this lesson. One of them is we should know our A minor pentatonic scales in all 5 positions, up and down the neck on the instrument. The second thing we should know is the A minor blues scales, adding the blues note. And the third thing that we should know is the scale degrees. Should have a lesson somewhere on scale degrees. So starting out, I'm going to just remind you of the scale degrees. It's very simple. You play the major scale, and the scale degrees are the numbers of the notes. So number 1 is the A, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So that's the basic scale degrees of the major scale, 1 through 7. We don't have to know how to count very far to understand scale degrees. Now, if we want to talk about the scale degrees in relation to the minor pentatonic scale, we have 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, back to 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3. That's using the number 1 position or fingering of the A minor pentatonic. Now in that same A minor pentatonic fingering, if we add the blues note, which is the flat 5, then the scale degree numbers go like this. 1, flat 3, 4, flat 5, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3, 4, flat 5, 5, flat 7, 1, flat 3. So those are the scale degrees in relation, and the reason we need to know those is so that we can talk about which ones of those that we use for bending notes. Okay, this is where the fun stuff begins. We're going to start out by talking about which notes to bend by scale degree, and we're going to use the number 1 pentatonic minor blues scale as the example to make that happen. So this is the scale. Okay, there are 3 notes that we use when we're bending notes. One is the flatted 3rd, one is the flatted 7th, and one is the 4th. And those 3 notes are located in a very nice position on that number 1 scale. The flatted 3rd being on the 1st string, 4th finger. And when we bend that note, we bend it to where we bend it up a whole step up to the 4th. The flatted 3rd bends up to the 4th, which in this case is a C bending up to the D. So we're going to bend the note up like that. Okay? The other note we bend is the flatted 7th, which is the 4th finger on the 2nd string, in this case, which happens to be the G. The G is the flatted 7th in the key of A minor blues or minor pentatonic. We're going to bend that note up a whole step up to the key note, which is A. And we're going to put the 1st finger on the A on the first string, and then the other 3 fingers for leverage on the second string, and we're going to bend that G until it sounds like an A. Okay, so that's the flatted 7th bend. The other bend is the fourth, and the fourth we bend either a half step up to the flatted 5 or a whole step up to the 5. Okay, so we can bend the 4th note of the scale up to the up a half step to the flatted 5. A little too far. There it is. Or we can bend it a whole step up to the E, which is the 5th. Okay. So those are the 3 notes that we bend on any scale, but in this particular case, in the number 1 scale, they are located flatted 3rd, flatted 7, 4th. Okay, so those are the 3 notes that we can bend in the number 1 minor pentatonic or minor blues scale. Now, we can also let the note bend backwards. Once we bend the note up, we can let it come back. So we bend the note up to the D. This is the flatted 3rd. Now it's going to drop and it's going to come back. And then we can bend it up on the flatted 7th, a whole step, and we can bring it back. And we can bend the 4th, and then we can bend it more, and we can let it come back. And that helps us to create that bluesy Okay. Now there's another thing that we call leverage that's very important. Some of these notes are also found in other places on the scale. Like the flatted 3rd, we find one here on that number 1 scale fingering. We find it right here, the C, right there on the first finger on the 3rd string. It doesn't have good leverage there for bending a whole step. Not for my hands anyway. It'd be very, and I use a little heavier string for a little better tone. I use number 10 strings. Some people use lighter strings. Number 10 being the number 1 string and everything in relation to that. But the leverage there is a little tough for bending. So sometimes we don't bend a flatted 3rd or a 4th or a flatted 7, which happens to be here, and the 4th, which happens to be there. So those are not in good leverage positions for actually bending in this scale. So we found 3 that were good. The 4th, the flatted 7, and the flatted 3rd.